Hey, ready state mobilization of the week. Now take a look at this. What we're gonna do is grab a single ball and something to sit on, and we are gonna go after adductors. Well, let's talk about the tissue system, adductors, hamstrings. So right now in the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of people spend a lot of time on exercise bikes, on pelotons. They're getting after it. And one of the complaints that people have often is that their adductors get sore. Now, we think about adductors working sort of in a flex position when we squat. If you ever squatted and had an adductor sore, and depending on the width of your pelvis and what's going on with sort of your anthropometry, some of us work a little bit harder with our adductors, some will work a little bit harder with hamstrings, et cetera, but it's a tissue system. And one of the ways that you can make your system feel a lot better is by addressing this adductor stiffness. Now, take a look at this. When we're dealing with athletes who have this kind of high hamstring pathology, pain in where the hamstring comes into the butt, right, the bottom, that ischial tuberosity region, one of the things that happens is oftentimes it's not actually the hamstring, it's the adductor, or that adductor hamstring system. It's like the tissues are being pulled or pushed or something's going on there. So one of the ways that we can desensitize that, improve blood flow in that, restore it, whatever you want to talk about, is by trying to come in this position of sort of reference or this sort of position of emphasis is a way we've kind of described it. Try to mobilize in the context of the shape you're trying to change. So find your ischial tuberosity, that's your sit bone, kind of, you feel the hamstring, and then just slip right over to this side. Now, what ends up happening is you appreciate that adductor starts to become part and parcel of your pelvic floor very quickly, right? In that region of grundle, ischial tuberosity, we should think about that sit bone as making that sort of lateral border of your pelvic floor. So we've got pubic symphysis in the front, coccyx in the back, and that whole system then is not just pelvic floor on the inside, but pelvic floor region. So when we are trying to improve pelvic floor function, when we're trying to untangle sort of medial knee pain, we start by saying, can we kind of mobilize this big meaty section of the thigh? And what's nice, instead of laying on my stomach in sort of a frog position, this allows me to work on these much more what we call proximal tissues, the tissues that are closer towards the center of the body, right? That are less than further away, distal. So by being able to take this and try to peel off that inside, you'll find that you can work on that seam between hamstring and adductor very quickly, but also you can get into that hamstring adductor sort of region of your hamstrings up near your pelvic bowl, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm seeing that, what's going on there. I can add rotation to the leg here and appreciate that these adductors may be limiting some of my rotation, right? We know that when I squat, and if I have restriction here, don't have control, one of the things that happens is adductors can fire and be short. It's one of the reasons that the foot turns out and knee comes in. But again, just by addressing this medial chain, we'll see improvements in the whole function. Those adductors work to flex the hip too. So if I'm bringing my hip into extension, those adductor system is part of the ways that I limit that adductor or that extension of the pelvis or the femur on the pelvis and bring the femur back through. That also adductors work in this position. Why? They're your adductors. They work in whatever shape position you're in. So improving this region on the inside of your thigh makes you a medial chain dominant athlete, right? It's not just about the hamstrings, not about the quads. There's nothing extra on the body. But sitting on a ball, if you're working at home now on Zoom all the time, this is an easy way to never fall asleep ever again, because what you're gonna find, you start putting this ball into your adductor system, start separating out from your hamstrings, big things are gonna happen. And, you won't ever fall asleep on Zoom again. Enjoy.